On the day of our engagement party, my boyfriend abandoned me to be with his first love. He explained impatiently, "Can't you be a little more understanding? Jenny has a stomachache. She can't be without me." I withdrew all the business resources I had given him, my voice icy. "Then you two can just go die together." On the day of the engagement party, I held Evan's arm, smiling as I greeted the guests coming and going. His phone dinged. He glanced at it, his face stiffening slightly. I looked over. It was a text message. Before I could see the content clearly, he quickly put his phone away. He whispered in my ear, "Sierra, I need to take a call. I'll be right back." I nodded, but I noticed his forced tension. For some reason, I felt a faint unease in my heart. And he was gone for an hour. Seeing he still hadn't returned, I went to look for him, finally spotting him around a corner in the hallway. His back was to me, his voice low. "Jenny, I'm getting engaged today. I can't come to you." I paused in my tracks. Jenny, Evan's first love. The strings in my heart tightened instantly. Just then, whatever was said on the other end made Evan's expression change, his tone anxious. "Wait for me. I'll be right there." With that, he hung up the phone and walked hurriedly toward the main entrance. He didn't even glance back. He completely forgot that the engagement party for him and me was being held in the banquet hall. Maybe he didn't forget. It was just that, compared to Jenny, I wasn't that important. Suppressing the sourness in my chest, I called out to him, "Evan, where are you going?" He turned to look at me, smiling as he explained, "A client had a sudden issue. I'm going to check it out." He was still lying to me, but the nervous urgency in his eyes couldn't be hidden. I heard everything just now. My voice was hoarse and unrecognizable. "Evan, you're going to see Jenny, aren't you?" His face stiffened, but he didn't deny it. I smiled bitterly. "Evan, today is our engagement party, yet you're going to see another woman?" But my questioning was met with his silence. Just then, his phone rang again. I saw the name on the screen. Jen. Evan's expression changed slightly, his tone carrying a hint of impatience. "Sierra, stop making a scene. Jenny's stomach issues are acting up. I'll take her to the hospital and come right back. Our engagement will proceed smoothly." Dropping this sentence, he left without looking back. From a distance, I heard him answer the phone, his voice gentle. "Don't be afraid, Jenny. I'll be right there." "It's okay. Don't cry. I'm coming to be with you right now." I stared fixedly at his retreating back, feeling sorrow only for myself. I once saw a question. How powerful is the white moonlight, the one who got away? The top voted answer was, "The moment she appears, no one else counts." Jenny and Evan. They were first loves, childhood sweethearts even. But 8 years ago, Jenny went abroad, and they broke up. I knew she meant something different to Evan, yet I still underestimated her. The moment she appeared, my 3 years of companionship counted for nothing. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I leaned against the wall. If he cared about her that much, why bother getting entangled with me? Was I just a replacement? These 3 years of feelings were truly laughable. The guests at the banquet were still waiting. I couldn't be gone for long. I reapplied my makeup, took a deep breath, and walked into the banquet hall. Then I announced the cancellation of the engagement. The guests looked bewildered. My expression was indifferent. "Evan went to be with Jenny just now. I don't like it, so the engagement is canceled." A simple sentence, profound in meaning. On the day of the engagement, abandoning his fiancée to be with another woman. Isn't that just cheating? The guests looked at me with mockery, indifference, or curiosity. The banquet hall fell silent. Just then, a lazy voice came from a corner. "Should have done this long ago. There's no reason for the eldest daughter of the Caldwell family to keep a disloyal dog." I looked toward the sound, meeting a uniquely handsome face. Julian, my nemesis since childhood. But right now, his words struck a chord in my heart. A disloyal dog. It was indeed an apt description for Evan. News of the canceled engagement spread quickly. By the time I got home, I received a call from Evan. Sierra, why did you cancel the engagement party? I didn't answer. He knew the answer to this question better than anyone, yet he wanted to push the responsibility onto me. Simply ridiculous. Seeing I was silent, Evan softened his tone. Sierra, stop throwing a tantrum, okay? I already explained to you. I was just helping her this once. I would have come back after taking her to the hospital. Why couldn't you wait for me? He spoke with such self-righteousness, as if I were the one in the wrong. Sierra, let's get engaged again, okay? I really love you. Love me? Loving me means dumping me at our engagement party. Loving me means ignoring my pleas to stay, disregarding my pain. Does this count as love? It counts for shoo-tea. Don't say you love me. I said coldly. Your love is so dirty it makes me sick. Evan's breathing paused, his tone becoming stiff. Sierra, Jenny's stomach issues flared up. She can't be without me. I scoffed, interrupting him. Then you two can just go die together. Evan's tone turned icy. Sierra Caldwell, do you have to speak so harshly? I wasn't afraid in the slightest, my tone colder than his. Compared to the disgusting things you've done, what do my words amount to? On the other end of the phone, Evan fell silent, leaving only the sound of shallow breathing. The air went quiet. My previously chaotic heart slowly calmed down. Evan's hoarse voice sounded again. Sierra, I didn't consider things carefully this time and hurt you. I won't ever see her again, okay? I really love you. You can't leave me. By the end, his voice carried a hint of a sob. My heart trembled violently. Love me? Then how could he hurt me? Just as I was about to speak, a delicate voice came from the other end. Evan, where is my medicine? It was Jenny's voice. Jenny was with him? He was by Jenny's side, speaking sweet words to me. In an instant, the string of reason in my mind snapped completely. The earlier sourness turned into immense humiliation. I gritted my teeth and said hatefully, Evan, you lied to me again. Evan wanted to explain. Sierra? I interrupted him impatiently, my tone cold as a knife. The humiliation of today I will return to you bit by bit. Back then, I could strategize for Evan, helping him reach the position of a rising star in the business world. Now, I could also kick him down. The first time I saw Evan was at a banquet hosted by the Vaughn family. I had already declined, but my father dragged me there by force. Lazy about socializing, I hid on a balcony no one cared about, admiring the night view and drinking champagne. Just then, someone walked up behind me, voice low and husky. You sure know how to steal some peace and quiet. Julian Vaughn. I rolled my eyes. Can't compare to young Master Julian. Loved by all, flowers bloom when they see you. Everyone who sees you just has to come over and say a few words. My words took 10 turns to say what I meant, fully embodying what it means to be passive-aggressive. But Julian didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed, nodding in agreement. You're right. I am indeed more likable than you. I choked, astounded by his thick skin. Just as I was about to retort, a commotion came from downstairs. Evan, you high-achieving student, how did you end up serving tea and water to others? Looks like good grades are useless after all. Evan, look at you, living like a dog. Hurry home and drink milk. But I heard your mom died. She wasn't cursed to death by you, was she? Before the sentence was finished, the young man struck suddenly, punching Connor in the face. Everyone froze. Connor was furious, covering his face and shouting, You dare hit me! Beat him to death for me! As soon as he said this, several rich kids around him were eager to try. Seeing things getting out of hand, Julian, as the host, naturally couldn't stand by. What's going on? Everyone paused and looked up. They saw me and Julian. Faces changed. I leaned on the railing, looking down, my gaze landing on Connor. What do you mean by cursed to death? I hadn't intended to intervene. After all, bullying the weak was too common in this circle. But When I was born, my mother died of weakness, and some people said behind my back that I had cursed her to death. Even though my father later dealt with those people, I detested that phrase. Connor explained urgently, "Miss Caldwell, I misspoke in the heat of the moment. Don't be angry." His earlier arrogance was completely gone. I glanced at Julian, my smile cold. In the future, I don't wish to see him at any gatherings again. One sentence was enough to cut off the development of the Connor family. Pale-faced, Connor was dragged out by bodyguards. The other rich kids fled quickly, afraid of being implicated. Only the young man remained standing there alone. He looked up at me, his eyes clear and cold, his appearance handsome like a movie star. He said, "Thank you." I waved my hand, not taking it to heart. I thought my interaction with him would end there, but he actively pursued me. After watching coldly for several years, I finally agreed to be with him. My father didn't say much, but Julian said meaningfully, "Be careful. Evan's ambition isn't small. You can't domesticate a dog like that." At the time, I felt disdain, but now it turned out to be prophetic. Evan indeed couldn't be domesticated. I took a deep breath and dialed my secretary's number. "Secretary Dye, the cooperation I mentioned last time for the Hayes Group, stop it." I certainly knew that one cooperation wouldn't cripple Evan, who was already established, but my purpose was to send a message to the outside world. Evan and I had completely fallen out. The reason Hayes Entertainment developed so rapidly was that I funneled some of Caldwell Entertainment's resources and actors to it. Back then, out of respect for the Caldwell family, no one objected. Now, naturally, no one wanted to offend the Caldwell family because of Evan. In half a month, Hayes Entertainment's resources were suddenly cut off, and some qualified stars and actors wanted to terminate their contracts. This caused his soaring stock to plummet to rock bottom overnight. Julian called me, his smile mocking. "Didn't expect you, the love-struck fool, to be quite sober. You weren't bewitched by that vixen Evan." My tone was indifferent. He can't be dodgy, and I'm not King Joe of Shang. Although King Joe and I both acted out of lust. But there's a difference in taste. Just then, Secretary Dye knocked on the door and said, "Manager, Mr. Hayes is looking for you." I nodded, letting him in. Evan pushed the door open, a gentle smile on his face. "Sierra, have you eaten?" Acting so nonchalant, as if the previous unpleasantness didn't exist. But he forgot. I hadn't forgotten. "Speak your mind." Evan's face stiffened, and he said softly, "Sierra, I know I broke your heart at the engagement party. It's right for you to be angry. But I swear to heaven, I really only treat Jenny as a sister. I absolutely haven't done anything to betray you." Evan reached out to hold my hand, his tone sincere. "Can you forgive me this once? I absolutely won't have any contact with her again." I stared at him coldly and scoffed. "Did you leave your brain in the womb when you were born? Or did you throw it away during evolution, assuming everyone is as stupid as you and so easy to fool?" The smile on Evan's face couldn't hold up anymore, but he persisted. "Sierra, I really love you. Have you forgotten how good I was to you over these 3 years? Do you have to be so heartless?" My father once told me that when a man brings up the past, it proves he has nothing left now to move you. Evan was just like that. I narrowed my eyes slightly, staring at him expressionlessly. "You were indeed good to me, but I wasn't bad to you either. You went socializing and got dead drunk. I prepared the hangover soup for you. You were hospitalized with a fever. I took care of you sleeplessly. You were short on funds. I took out all my savings, your top-tier resources and actors. I gave them to you one by one. I accompanied him through the most difficult entrepreneurial period. I gave money, effort, and resources, all for Evan the person. Compared to the love Evan gave me, the things I gave were more practical and helpful. Evan understood this better than anyone. His voice hoarse, he said, "Sierra, I know it all. Let's start over, okay?" I shook my head without hesitation. Evan, I asked you at the engagement party. You insisted on leaving. I lowered my bottom line for you, suffered grievances and sadness for you. You made me feel like a cheap throw-in. Evan, you let me down. Evan's face was ashen, his hands trembling involuntarily. A trace of disgust flashed through my cold eyes. I am not trash, and the things I gave you aren't cheap. Since you don't cherish them, I'll take them all back. Evan looked at me silently, his thin lips parting slightly, but he couldn't say a word for a long time. Finally, he left the company in despair. Secretary Dye whispered from the side, "That attitude looked quite sincere." I glanced at her, my tone indifferent. If he really wanted to apologize, did he have to wait until his career hit a snag to come? The little assistant was confused. He wanted to... I sneered twice and said, "He just came to test my attitude." If I could really be coaxed back with a few words, he would have me under his thumb from then on, sucking my blood until I had nothing left. But I was no longer an innocent little girl. There were countless dirty things in the upper-class circle. Compared to those men and women trying to climb into wealthy families, Evan's methods were too naive and too lofty. But now that my attitude was so tough, if he wanted to salvage things, he'd probably have to think of other ways. The potential stars of Hayes Entertainment left one after another. Some faded celebrities had no fame and couldn't make money. The stock dropped day by day, seeing the capital chain breaking and the company about to collapse. Suddenly, Jenny parachuted in and signed with Hayes Entertainment. Although her acting was subpar and her singing and dancing even worse, she won by being beautiful and popular. She was currently a hot young starlet, very capable of gathering wealth. Sitting in my office, Julian clicked his tongue in wonder. This month, Jenny took 5 commercials and 3 variety shows, working almost non-stop all month, just to patch up Evan's capital chain. I glanced at him, my hand signing documents without stopping. "You're really idle, even asking about this." Julian grumpily snatched my pen, indignant. "Little ingrate, who am I doing this for?" "Stop pretending to be deep." I leaned back in my chair, sneering. "You just want to watch the drama." From childhood to adulthood, Julian was keen on adding fuel to the fire, to satisfy his mentality of the bigger the trouble, the better the show. In the past, when I said this, Julian would definitely smile indifferently and admit it by default. But this time, his face turned cold. Giving me a deep look, he gritted his teeth. No good deed goes unpunished. With that, he turned and left the office. Secretary Dye walked in, face full of confusion. "What's wrong with President Vaughn?" "Who knows?" I was also puzzled, speculating secretly. Julian was so angry. Could it be he was really helping me this time? Just then, the phone rang. I picked it up and saw it was actually Jenny. She asked to meet me at a tea house. In the private room, Jenny wore a white dress, her face slightly pale, looking like an innocent white flower. She said, "Sierra, I couldn't reach my agent when my stomach hurt that day, so I called Brother Evan. I really didn't mean to disturb you. Since Brother Evan broke up with you, he hasn't been eating or drinking, burying himself in work, living very badly. He really loves you. Can you forgive him?" I looked up at her and suddenly asked, "Evan spent the night with you that day? You two didn't do anything?" A blush appeared on Jenny's face, and she quickly waved her hands. "How is that possible? We didn't—" I raised an eyebrow, smiling meaningfully. "Seems one of you is a saint and the other a chaste martyr. I admire that." Jenny's eyes reddened, tears flowing. "I know you still blame me. But as long as you forgive Brother Evan, I won't be angry no matter how you scold me." I watched her perform quietly, showing no reaction. Seeing her expression becoming stiffer, I slowly said, "Honestly, if you applied the skill you use acting in front of me to your work, you wouldn't be called the queen of bad movies. We're both 1,000-year-old foxes. Why are you playing the innocent chicken with me?" Jenny's eyes turned cold, but tears continued to flow. That night, Brother Evan was really too passionate. I could only endure. Before she finished, I picked up my iced coffee and splashed it on her face. She screamed, hurriedly grabbing tissues to wipe it, but I grabbed her wrist and punched her in the stomach. Jenny screamed and fell to the ground. Covered in coffee stains, she looked utterly wretched. She seemed not to expect I would get physical, staring at me in shock. Looking down at her, I sneered. "Don't tell me all that dirty stuff. I have zero interest in your animalistic mating." With that, I walked out of the private room and left. Since Jenny sought me out to create news and establish an innocent persona for herself, I'd satisfy her. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the aureole behind. As I expected, Jenny indeed released a video. In the tea house, I was beating Jenny with a ferocious face. Jenny was knocked to the ground, weeping. Instantly, I trended on social media. Shocking. Eldest daughter of Caldwell family bullies. New film queen. Explosive. Jenny helps Hayes Group out of love. Angers Ms. Caldwell. Gets beaten in public. Before the media, Jenny's face was swollen and eyes red, looking very miserable. I've always treated Evan as a brother. Now that he's heartbroken and depressed after breaking up with Miss Caldwell and his company is taking a hit, I couldn't bear it and helped out. I really didn't expect to anger Miss Caldwell, and for her to do this to me in public. Before finishing, she covered her face and cried, leaving hurriedly. For a moment, I was pushed to the forefront of the storm. Since I didn't have an account, netizens rushed to the Caldwell Group's account. The comment section and DMs were filled with insults and slander against me. The Caldwell princess really is different. Won't let the ex-boyfriend go even after breaking up. Has to bankrupt him to be satisfied. My goddess is kind and loyal, daring to offend the Caldwells to help Evan. I love you forever. Sierra Caldwell is bullying people too much. Evan comes from a humble background. How could he fight the Caldwells? Vicious, mean. The Qing dynasty fell ages ago, yet she's still using power to oppress people. Of course, there were a few questioning comments. Did Evan do something to betray the girl to be targeted like this? But they were quickly buried. Jenny's speech is too pick-me. However, in the blink of an eye, they were buried, and clicking on them showed the accounts were reported and banned. How guilty must they be? Reporting and hiring water armies, paid trolls. I tutted lightly, contacting PR to contact these few people and give compensation. After all, rational gossip consumption should be encouraged. Secretary Dye stood aside, whispering, "It seems Jenny's appointment with you was premeditated. She arranged paparazzi in advance." She asked me again, "Miss, do we need to issue a statement to clarify?" I nodded and chuckled. "Sure, just waiting for this idiot to take the bait herself." After all, netizens love watching the circus, but no one really wants to be the clown. While Secretary Dye prepared the press conference, the online dispute continued. I registered an account and updated my first status. Who posted this? Wait for the lawyer's letter. The attached image was a white flower. Then I reposted the lawyer's letter, warning all netizens not to ignore the law, as the internet is not a lawless place. Netizens thought I was guilty even more, mocking and cursing. The Caldwell family is amazing, even hired big lawyers. But the white flower was a nice touch. A vicious woman like Sierra Caldwell should die sooner. Daring to bully people like this in broad daylight and not letting people refute it. Who knows what terrible things she's done behind the scenes. I refreshed the comments and DMs expressionlessly, then updated another status. A fool never knows they are a fool. The internet was in an uproar again. It was reposted and commented on rapidly, and I noticed Julian also liked and commented, "Fool in a well," and pinned it. I smiled. Before the press conference, the city held a business seminar, and I gladly accepted the invitation. As soon as I entered, I saw Evan being interviewed by reporters. Not seen for a few months, he was thin, with dark circles under his eyes, looking tormented. A reporter asked, Regarding the departure of most actors from Hayes Entertainment this time, does Mr. Hayes know the reason? Evan's smile carried a hint of helplessness. There's nothing wrong with people striving for higher places. Although Hayes Entertainment has some fame in the industry, it can't compare to larger companies. So I don't blame them. I only wish them their heart's desire. His attitude was generous, but his words hit a sharp edge. Larger companies. Didn't that refer to Caldwell Group? Reporters sensed it keenly and quickly followed up. Mr. Hayes is truly broad-minded. Now, rumors say you and Ms. Caldwell had a very unpleasant breakup, which is why you're being targeted. What's your take on this? Evan smiled gently, eyes deep with affection. Sierra has a girlish temper. I love her very much. I only hope she can return to my side. I targeted him so relentlessly, yet Evan was so gentle and doting. It made me seem even more unreasonable. I sneered and walked forward proactively, my voice icy. Return to your side to continue watching you and your good sister be sweet? Everyone looked toward the sound, and cameras turned. I was wearing a fiery red long dress today, radiant and eye-catching. In comparison, Evan looked particularly shabby. I glanced at him. His face was extremely stiff. He didn't expect me to dare come to the scene under such huge public pressure. Reporters asked questions repeatedly. My smile was faint, my words clear. At the engagement party, wasn't it you, the great lover Evan, who left me behind to spend the night with your good sister? Evan's eyes were gentle, sighing helplessly. Sierra, I already explained to you. That time was just a misunderstanding. Jenny had acute gastritis and has no one here to rely on. Don't throw a tantrum, okay? I made a realization sound, oh, smiling deeper. Understood. Jenny has been here for 5 or 6 years. No friends, no assistant. Besides you, she doesn't know anyone. So the good brother holding an engagement party just had to go. As soon as this was said, Evan's face froze, turning green then purple. Sierra dash dash. But I suddenly approached, warning word by word. Don't say my name from your mouth again. Too dirty, too smelly. And do you think those little tricks of yours and Jenny's can defeat me? Dream on. Saying that, I looked at the press section and announced loudly, at 8 o'clock today, I will hold a press conference to clarify everything. I hope everyone will witness it. With that, I turned and left. It was time to end this farce. At 8 o'clock, the press conference was crowded with reporters. As I took my seat, the conference officially began. Entertainment reporters couldn't wait to ask, Ms. Caldwell, most actors from Hayes Entertainment have terminated their contracts and joined Caldwell Group. Did you have a hand in this? I smiled. Actors are adults. They naturally know where they can shine brighter. Besides, these actors chose Hayes originally because of my recommendation. Now that Hayes and I have parted ways, their personal choices should be respected. Once, to protect Evan's dignity and fearing others would say he lived off a woman, I never mentioned this. Even when Evan left the engagement party, I stopped those present from announcing it to the public, wanting to leave some dignity. But Evan disappointed me too much. Now, I had no scruples. Those present hurriedly recorded it. Then they asked, Mr. Vaughn said Mr. Hayes suddenly left the engagement party because of Jenny, abandoning you. Is this true? I nodded. True. Everyone who attended the banquet can testify. Not only that, I also brought the hotel surveillance footage, playing it on the big screen, from Evan receiving the phone call, how I questioned his departure, how he lied to me, then after being exposed, his recklessness, until finally abandoning me and leaving hurriedly. Every move, every word, filmed clearly, making Evan's deep affection from a few hours ago instantly hypocritical. Reporters looked at each other and asked the question they were most interested in. Then your angry beating of Jenny a few days ago, was it because of this? Beating? I chuckled lightly and took out the voice recorder. Please forgive Brother Evan. That night, Brother Evan was very passionate. We had a very happy time. From the tea-flavored speech to the last sentence, it echoed clearly in the conference hall. The expressions on some young reporters' faces stiffened. Couldn't figure out how there could be such a shameless person. Turning off the recorder, I smiled brightly, sighing with a face full of gentleness. Her skin was itchy. I just helped her scratch it. How can you call it a violent beating? Reporters nodded in agreement. Jenny being so brazenly shameless, her skin was indeed itchy. I looked at the live stream camera, cold light flashing in my eyes, saying word by word, "Jenny, I know you're watching." Did you think by cutting the cafe surveillance you could slander me at will? Unfortunately, I prepared long ago. I contributed greatly to Evan's development to this day, but he is ungrateful and fickle. So I took back what I gave him. It's fair and reasonable. Or did you expect me to forget the past and let him continue to ride on my head and show off? In fact, I originally didn't plan to completely tear faces with Evan. After all, him fleeing the engagement party wasn't my fault, but I still felt it was embarrassing. Just parting ways would be fine. I accepted the loss. Besides, the thing I lacked least was resources. But he didn't know good from bad, despised my dignity, and tried to manipulate me time and again. Disgusting to the extreme. For such a brazen person, extermination is the right path, to avoid harming others. As for Jenny, a worthless thing, I didn't take her seriously. After all, in my view, regarding cheating and betrayal, no matter how a woman seduces, it's useless if the man isn't moved. Evan was moved, that's all. But I never expected Jenny would actively come to me to frame me. And Evan fueled the flames from behind, trying to crush me with public opinion. But unfortunately, when I accepted Jenny's invitation, I guessed she had bad intentions and brought a voice recorder, recorded everything. Reporters were moved by my speech, nodding along with my words. I hooked my lips in satisfaction, sneering. Evan wants to be Xue Pingyi, but I'm not Wang Baochuan. I was born with a bad temper and am not to be trifled with. If someone provokes me a little, I will return it 10 or 100 times. I won't be a love-struck fool, nor will I go dig wild vegetables in the mountains. An arrogant, rich woman like me will only buy the entire mountain and bury the scum man and cheap woman together. After the clarification at the press conference, I trended again. But compared to the insults and slander last time, this time it was all praise. Brave and resourceful, Sister Sierra is the real heroine. Jenny, you green tea, dared to provoke a volcano like Sister Sierra, burnt until not even dregs remain. This is the correct way to treat scum men and cheap women, begging love-struck fools to come learn and watch. I won't allow any Wang Baoquan not to have seen Sister Sierra's speech on love. Washed very clean. Someone send me to Sister Sierra's bed. I laughed at the comment section. Julian placed the cut steak in front of me, his voice gloomy. Ms. Caldwell, I have to remind you, you need to apologize to me, and I am not your little eunuch. Where would there be such a handsome little eunuch? I put down my phone, looking at him with a smile, smiling very sweetly. You are my imperial guard with a sword. Supporting me at the engagement party, collecting Jenny's information for me, standing up for me before the media. I saw it all. Julian really wasn't as annoying and hateful as when we were kids. Julian froze, then coughed lightly with a bit of panic in his eyes, saying grumpily, "As long as you know." I stared at his reddening ears, smiling deeper. "Jules, you're blushing." He subconsciously covered his face. Looking up to see my teasing look, he realized he overreacted and loosened his tie, pretending nothing happened. "It's just too hot here." I raised an eyebrow, pretending to agree. "Okay, it is indeed too hot." Julian glanced at me, and I blinked innocently. Both of us couldn't hold it in eventually and laughed. Julian drove me back to the villa. Just as I got out of the car, a person rushed out from the shadows, lunging at me. But before getting close, he was kicked to the ground by Julian. The person groaned but scrambled closer, voice hoarse. Sierra, give me another chance, okay? I really can't live without you. I looked closely and realized this person was actually Evan. Not seen for a month, his originally handsome face was haggard beyond recognition, chin full of stubble, dark bags under eyes. There was also a strange smell on him. I stepped back 2 steps in disgust, saying coldly, "Evan, back then you said Jenny couldn't live without you and told me not to make a scene. How did you change so fast?" Tears streamed down Evan's face, wishing to kneel and beg for mercy. "I really know I was wrong. I won't dare again. Forgive me this once." I rolled my eyes impatiently. "I, Sierra Caldwell, don't keep disloyal dogs." With that, I turned to leave. Evan chased after me relentlessly. "Sierra, give me one more chance." Before finishing, he was kicked in the stomach by Julian, flying a few meters away. Julian stared at him with cold eyes, as if looking at a dead object, saying word by word, "Don't use your dirty mouth to mention her name again." Evan flinched subconsciously. "Evan, I will make you more miserable." With that, Julian took my hand and strode away. Back home, I lowered my head with a serious face. Seeing this, Julian said coldly and grumpily, "You still like him? Blaming me for hitting him?" "No." I glanced at him, shook our joined hands, smiling innocently. "Classmate Jules, how long do you want to take advantage of me?" Julian froze. 2 blushes appeared on his fair face, yet he held on tightly, firmly, refusing to let go, whispering, "Forever, of course." Looking at him, I couldn't hold back anymore and laughed. Julian, a bit cute. I didn't know how Julian dealt with Evan, but since then I never saw him again. Jenny left with him, but no one cared anymore. After all, one was bankrupt with debt, the other ruined with nothing. The world is cruel like this. No one cares about losers. Fortunately, I took back what belonged to me, whether resources or feelings. I returned to work, climbing up the corporate ladder with outstanding ability. Meanwhile, Julian often appeared before my eyes. Could be called attentive. The young master of the Vaughn family, lowering his status to be my secretary, serving tea and water. I was extremely honored. I knew what he meant, but if he didn't initiate, I wouldn't speak. Girls, of course, have to be reserved. Day after day, week after week, year after year. I could endure, but he couldn't hold it back anymore. He carefully planned a so-called proposal ceremony, unaware that I had seen through it long ago. After all, what he said most often a week ago was, "I have a big surprise for you. Just you wait." Hard not to guess. But that day, I still pretended not to know, walking to the scene, acting the part, but was still shocked by his meticulous design. Fireworks bloomed together, colorful in the dark night, brilliant, romantic. Sky lanterns filled with my name. He was telling the heavens. Julian Vaughn likes Sierra Caldwell. In a black suit standing under the fireworks, he stammered nervously, "Sierra, when we were young, I always wanted to get your attention, so I often bullied you. But once you cried very sadly, and I felt very bad. That day I swore never to make you cry again, but I broke my promise, letting you shed tears because of a bastard. I don't know what counts as liking someone. I only know I can't stop smiling thinking about growing old with you. I get excited seeing you appear. I'm happy when you're happy, sad when you're sad. I've set my sights on you, and so has my heart." With nervous and anxious eyes, he asked, "So, Sierra, are you willing to marry me?" The crowd cheered. "Say yes! Say yes! Marry him!" I blinked, holding back tears, but couldn't hide the choke in my voice. "But I'm not your girlfriend yet." Julian froze, quickly asking, "Then can I become your boyfriend?" "No." Julian was instantly disappointed, hands trembling subconsciously. "That's okay, too. I can keep trying." I reached out and placed a finger on his thin lips, stopping his words. Looking at his confused eyes, I smiled brightly. "Silly, I do." I added, "Answering your first sentence." Before the voice fell, I was held in his arms with great force. as if to melt me into his body. He said, "I love you." I smiled through tears, hugging him back tightly. Me too. I looked up at the sky. Under the night, the moon hung in midair, twinkling with a few stars. Twinkling. But stars and moon converge into a sea, finally belonging together now. Evan's side story. Sierra is getting married. This wedding of the century went viral. In the video, tens of thousands of red roses covered the wedding venue. Under the spotlight, she was breathtakingly beautiful. The person she looked at was no longer me. Suddenly, I remembered the past, her leaning on my shoulder, voice soft and sweet. "Evan, when we get married later, I want to wear the most beautiful wedding dress, red roses covering the ground, beautiful and romantic." What did I say then? I said, "Okay, whatever you say," acting like a good doting boyfriend, but actually just thinking of finishing perfunctorily to go see Jenny. To me, Sierra was a distant moon. When I held her in my arms, I was ecstatic at first, but more of it was pressure and panic. Can an ordinary person really privately own the moon? There were plenty of men better than me around her. The look Julian gave her every time already made me afraid. Compared to him, what was I? I worked madly hard, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't catch up to the Caldwell group. My pressure increased day by day. I wanted to vent, but I couldn't bear to do it to Sierra. She is the moon, just needs to hang in the sky. I'm satisfied watching from afar. And Jenny contacted me. She acted coquettish and cute. I knew she wanted to seduce me for better resources. But with her, I found the long-lost, dreamed-of sense of adoration. I could vent my desires unscrupulously. And Sierra knew nothing of this, still gentle to me. I felt guilty, but I enjoyed the pleasure of playing her in my palm more. So what if you are high and mighty? You still love me desperately, not even knowing I have a woman outside, still wanting to get engaged to me. Really a fool, an idiot. I treated her as if nothing happened, but this thought appeared in my mind more than once. But everything ended on the day of the engagement party. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I wanted to test Sierra's bottom line. Maybe I really worried about Jenny. But it didn't matter anymore. Sierra broke up with me. Actually, after breaking up, I subconsciously sighed in relief. Compared to Sierra, I cared more about my career. That's what I thought. But as my company's talent left and financial pressure multiplied, I made mistake after mistake. Until finally I went completely bankrupt, shouldering huge debts. I changed my name and fled to my hometown. News travels slowly in the countryside. They knew nothing of my past. So under my parents' arrangement, I married a twice-divorced, fierce woman. Life was wretched, poor, and hard. I started dreaming about the past night after night, sweet, triumphant, sad, but no Sierra. However, how could trash like me deserve to dream of her? I knew, but maybe because I watched the video today, she appeared in my dream. "Evan, are you really going to be with another woman at the engagement party?" "Evan, you are disgusting, and so is your love." "Evan, you're the one who let me down." Her questioning sentence by sentence, tears falling drop by drop, smashing on my heart. Clearly a dream, yet I hurt so much I couldn't breathe. But I couldn't bear to wake up. If not in a dream, I'm afraid I'll never meet her again in this life. Until I was beaten awake. Opening my eyes to the fierce woman's face, she shouted loudly, "Evan, stop playing dead. Get up and set up the stall." Dreaming all night, I was sleepy and tired. I don't feel well today. Don't want to go. But before finishing, the quilt was lifted by the woman, chilling me to the bone. The woman shouted even louder, "Don't want to go? If you don't go make money, bring me the milk powder money for your son. Do you want to starve your son?" Son. The woman's ex-husband's child. I wanted to talk back, but looking at her fierce and hideous face, I didn't dare utter a word. "Get up, don't make me do it." I could only crawl up to dress, pushing the breakfast cart, slowly walking on the snow. Just arriving at the alley entrance and setting up the stall, a woman's sharp voice came from not far away. "Brother Chen, this money isn't right. Still 200 short." A man shook off the woman's hand, saying coldly, "You rotten goods are worth this price. If you dare follow again, I'll beat you to death." With that, he turned to leave. But the woman wouldn't give up chasing, clinging to the man's arm, not letting go, while shouting loudly, "Brother Chen, even if you beat me to death, you have to give me the missing money. Otherwise, I'll go to your house. Let your wife and kids know what you did. You are alone and afraid of nothing. Can your son in the honor class handle it?" The man was furious, wanting to beat the woman, but seeing more and more onlookers, he spat, "Truly a shameless slut. Want money? Get it yourself." He took out 200 yuan and threw it into the nearby lake. Must go into the water to get it. This weather. The lake water wasn't frozen, but was bone-chillingly cold. Yet the woman disregarded everything, jumping into the water to pick up the money. When coming ashore, she was shivering with cold, her coat soaked, neck full of bruises and red marks. Passers-by saw and stayed far away in disgust. I watched this scene numbly, stepped forward and threw a coat over her. The woman didn't even look up, smiling coquettishly with practice. "Good brother, want to have some fun?" But the moment she looked up, she couldn't say a word. "Evan?" I nodded, returning to the stall, numbly repeating selling breakfast, collecting money, counting money. Jenny watched for a while, suddenly laughing mockingly. "Didn't expect you to end up this miserable too." I looked up at her. Thinking of something, she suddenly covered her face and cried bitterly, "Say, if we hadn't made mistakes back then, would we be living very well now? I really regret it." Sentence by sentence until her voice was hoarse. Sentence by sentence tearing my heart apart. I sighed. Too late. "It's all too late." She looked at me blankly, hesitating to speak. Just then a woman shouted from afar, "Flower, Brother Wang is here. Hurry home." She froze, then quickly wiped away tears, putting on a practiced seductive smile, twisting her waist, walking back. Neither of us said goodbye, but we both knew these days would repeat day after day until we die.